So I'm going to talk to you today on the podcast about one particular element of storytelling, because I've identified about 38 to 40 that I have combined in a thing called a story bridge, and that would take an entire year's worth of classes to talk about. But I'm going to talk about one of those things. It's called character development. I'm very much a person who believes that before I'll listen to you, I need to know who you are to be telling me this. And you say, well, that's not very fair. Everybody has an opinion. Sure, everybody has an opinion, but I'm talking about if you want to persuade me, I need some street cred. I need some education. I need some proof that you know what you're talking about. And I think everybody does. And that's not the only definition of character development. But character development is so important because once the jury identifies as this is a character who has either got through experience, knowledge, education, a person who knows what he's talking about, they give more credibility and tend to lean in that person's direction. So let me play with this for a minute. If a beggar off the street comes up to you and says, the stock market is going to crash tomorrow.
Happened before.
Yeah, but I mean,
No, the person coming up to me saying that.
what's your average person going to do with that information?
Oh, nothing.
Laugh and say that's nice. Why nothing?
Most likely they don't have anything to do with the market.
Now, let's say Charles Schwab, and I'm just picking on him because I love Charles Schwab. I consume all of his products, and so I'm not biased against him. Let's say Charles Schwab says the same thing. Market's going to crash tomorrow.
Well, I would definitely listen.
Why?
Authority. He has some authority to
Gained from?
experience, title. You could say education.
Now, if we could take the political affiliation out of it, if the general manager of the Fed, what do you call it?
Is it the Federal Reserve?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it is.
If that person says the stock market's going to crash tomorrow, what do you think?
Well, I think it does because they said it.
They kind of have the power to move it.
Yeah, you'd be watching it in real time.
If somebody, what's that guy's name? T. Boone Pickens is not who I'm thinking about.
That's natural gas.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the guy who buys up so many stocks it literally moves the market.
You're not Warren Buffett? No.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
A lot of people follow what Warren Buffett says, and just if I could learn of his stock trades with enough time, I would copy him too. So I'm not picking on him. I'm just saying if he says the market's going to crash tomorrow, you listen. Okay, do you see how everybody had the same message? All four of those examples, the exact same words, the market's going to crash tomorrow. One of them you discount as a joke. One of them you believe, and you could rank them however your choices are. But do you understand that it's not the message that is causing you to make your decision as to which one is credible, truthful, and reliable? It is something else.
True.
And I posit to you that it's called character development. What I did was I gave you a person who you could automatically fill in the blanks about their education, their experience, their character, their so-and-so and so-and-so. Okay, now we're in a trial. And I've got a guy sitting beside me. And let's just say it's a criminal trial. And let's say he's unshaven, not particularly wearing a style beard. It's just nasty, unshaven beard. Got his hair in a ponytail. Got dirt under his fingernails. Has rings on every finger. Has tattoos on his wrist. Probably tattoos everywhere. And he's charged of molesting a child. Now, same scenario. We got a white guy wearing a nicer suit than I do. In fact, they think I'm the defendant and they think he's the client. I mean, I'm the client and he's the lawyer. Really clean cut, wearing a nice blue or gray suit. Very polite, very soft spoken, very good looking. Without knowing anything else, when you sit down as a juror or an observer in the courtroom, because I'm including the judge in this, which one's more likely guilty of the... We haven't heard any facts yet. Which one's more likely guilty?
Oh, God. I mean, just all it would take for me, if that's all I had to go off of, would be the dirt under the nails. I think I would go, if I had to pick one, it would be the dirt. Just clean. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't mean anything, but
right.
If I was in that exact scenario, I would say dirty, sorry.
Now, there's plenty of people who would say, I wouldn't differentiate between those two people. Now say one of them is black and one of them's white.
If you're talking about child molestation,
yep,
I would definitely say the white one
is more likely to be guilty. And why is that?
I mean, just historically. I mean, if you're just talking about...
I don't know if it's historically accurate or not, but the perception of a lot of people that I know, like you, believes that white people are more likely to have done it than black people. Now, what if it's a carjacking?
I don't want to answer.
Right, because you're going to say the black person. Because we read the newspaper. I wish people would read the newspaper, but wherever people get their news, it seems to be there is a public perception among those who I have interviewed that the black person may have been guilty of the carjacking. But here's the way I do it in voir dire. And I just did this in my last trial. I'm going to do it in probably every trial that I have, because it's a hidden bias that you don't even know is there. And confirmation bias is what we believe. We look for something to support our belief and we confirm it, and that's called confirmation bias. So we have a mass shooting. Many people are dead. What is the race of the shooter?
Most likely white.
Until what just happened in Buffalo, so we do have an exception, but I believe that the public perception and most answers I get from the jury are white. Now let's change the crime. We have 3 people who carjack a car while stopped at a red light, throw the occupants out on the ground, take the car and leave. What is the race of the carjackers?
I would guess black.
Right. And a lot of people do.
Sure.
Now, that's not to say that we're biased. We're saying that's based on the information that we have, but the information you have is what happens in your town.
Right.
Can you see that carjacking in Harlingen, Texas, maybe Hispanic people come to their mind because the news in the community in which they live, there are very few black people and they're mostly Hispanics, and so they're going to say if there's a carjacking, it's probably Hispanics or whatever. And so all of that's not about the facts, which is why you'll hear me say repeatedly the facts don't matter. It's the jury's perception of the facts, and the jury's perception of the facts is affected by the authenticity, truthfulness, and effectiveness of the story. And if the story is, well, let me give you an idea of a case I tried in Fort Worth. I just asked the jury, I said, look at my client. She's wearing a hijab. When I look at her, I don't see a terrorist or a terrorist mother. But what do you see?
Well, I wouldn't see anything.
Well, I had 3 jurors that said, I want to kill her.
Oh, my gosh.
Juror number 5 said, I want her to be killed. And 2 other ones said they see a terrorist and that it's somebody that doesn't belong in our country. Now, that's good because I can't let those kind of people be on the jury. Yeah, and the judge excluded them.
Yeah, if those people are about to, pass a verdict on something and they have They have so much bias that they would say it out loud. Yeah, see you later.
Yeah, but those aren't the ones I'm scared of.
Sure.
The ones I'm scared of are the ones that have that much bias and they want to enact punishment on my client and they keep it to themselves.
They want to hide.
Yeah. But wait a minute. That's not about the facts either. What is that about? It's about the character of the person making the judgment. And so character development you start to see is so important. And so in your story, and I believe in the hero-centric story structure, and some Hollywood writer told me this. I don't remember his name or I'd tell you.
George Lucas. Yeah.
No, he didn't. This guy came and talked to the Trial Lawyers College, and he's the one that taught me about hero-centric story structure, that every story is really the same, that there's a hero and there's a villain, and then there's some guy trying to save, the hero's trying to go get the magic elixir to cure the pox that's going to kill the, whatever.
Destroy the Death Star. Go on.
Yeah, whatever. Well, the problem is that lawyers misperceive who the hero is in the story in the courtroom. Who do you think the hero is in the courtroom? No matter what kind of trial, no matter what kind of case.
Well, I know the answer. It's got to be the jury.
Yeah, because they're the only ones that can fix it. So the hero is truly the jury. If you center your hero-centric story around your client as the hero or you as the lawyer as the hero, knock, knock, you might be disappointed because the heroine and the hero in the story are the jurors who can fix this problem. And so why is story structure so important? Well, because people don't like chaos. If you want to persuade somebody, the least effective manner of persuasion, in my opinion, is chaotic, unorganized, disheveled, throwing shotgun blast at people trying to get something to stick. And so story structure becomes important, and one part of story structure has got to be the character development. I don't know if you saw the movie I don't know. It's where the bear attacked the guy.
Revenant.
Mm-hmm. I went to see The Revenant because I read that the director and the person that wrote the movie had no narrative, that it was simply one series of character developments after another. And I took 7 people with me to see this movie, and this proved out true, that because there was no narrative being advanced, everybody that watched the movie came out with a different opinion about what it was about. I made them take notes, and we got back to class. I said, hey, what was that movie about? 7 different answers. That is not the way you want to try a case. You want everybody to be on the same point, not having their own independent points. And so that's why in the art of persuasion, character development can be so important. But character development is so effective that the federal rules of evidence and the Texas rules of evidence and every state's rules of evidence prohibit the use of character evidence to show that the actor on the day in question acted in conformity therewith. That's because judges and the rule writers and the Supreme Court of the United States and of other states that wrote the rules of evidence know how powerful it is. Which is why you don't get to find out that Johnny killed somebody 10 years ago during the guilt-innocence phase, because if you believe he killed somebody 10 years ago, it's easier for you to believe he did this one that he's currently charged with. You also don't get to know that Johnny, who's charged with carjacked a car 2 years ago and was on probation for it, because it makes it, you see how important that is? As soon as you find out that he is a carjacker, you believe he's always a carjacker, or there's the danger of it. And so you got to be careful about character development. So what traits make you want to believe somebody? What would make you believe the market's going to crash from any one of those characters that we talked about earlier over another?
You want a really superficial one?
Or whatever.
What kind of car they're driving?
Well, see, and I resent that because so many people agree with you.
Sure.
That the kind of car you're driving is an indication of your success.
Well, no. Not success. That, to me, it's an extension of character. If a guy's driving a Porsche and tells me the market's going to collapse, I don't trust him.
Why?
Because he obviously has some sort of, I say obviously, my impression is that this person has a way to gain or have something positive happen because that happens. If the market goes down, they make money. Maybe they have a short position or have leveraged debt or something.
Yeah.
Because of that, I know that they are going to be more likely to say it because they want it to happen. Therefore, they'll be biased to tell me something because it's in the favor that they want. If someone is driving a truck and says that, I would say this guy has gone out of his way to research this and say something that he probably doesn't want to happen and that won't affect him, and he's more likely to be telling the truth versus what he thinks or feels.
And see, I can't glean any of that from what kind of car they drive. I'm glad you can.
Oh no, I'm not saying that that's accurate. I'm saying that is a
no. It's
without any other factors. I would put everything on the line on it, but of course I wouldn't stop there. I would try to learn more before I believed or didn't believe somebody.
Well, you're on to something. Because the British system and the Scottish system, the reason that advocates wear wigs and frocks is because that makes them all look the same. You don't have a rich lawyer wearing an Armani suit. If he is, it's covered up and you can't see it. You don't have the ability to see this person's true physical appearance, so you might not recognize him outside the courtroom. And that's the whole reason that they do that, because they understand that you're going to put different character valuations on people depending on what kind of clothes they wear, what kind of car they drive, what kind of house they live in, et cetera, et cetera. So you see how powerful character development is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
how powerful character evidence is.
Yeah. In the absence of character evidence, I would use a vehicle that the person is driving.
But what if there's no evidence of the vehicle?
That's the thing. I would use whatever I have.
Yeah.
To fill in the gaps.
Right, that's exactly right.
And if I could telegraph a little bit, you don't want the jury doing that. You want to give them everything that you can.
That's right. If you let the jury fill in the blanks, they may fill them in a way that is not consistent with your brand of justice. That's why you've got to fill in those blanks.
Yeah. Even though it may be in my best interest to listen to everyone that gives me financial advice and maybe act as if everyone has authority and then sort it out. But if I don't know that, I have to use something to give them pluses or minuses.
Well, for example, I'm going to try a case in 3 days where the defense is he was sleeping on the job.
That's the defense?
Yeah. We say they wrongfully terminated him because he was injured on the job. They say, no, we caught him sleeping on the job. So that's why we fired him. Now, you see how powerful that is? Everybody believes you could be subject to termination for sleeping on the job. The problem is when you allow somebody to put out a falsehood, it's not free speech, it's just a lie. Because when you learn the entire facts, watch how it changes your perception. I mean, if I just stopped right there and said, they say he was sleeping on the job, we say it's because he got injured on the job and they fired him for filing for workers' comp benefits.
Well, I mean, let's say I have nothing else to go off of.
That's right.
You already have more detail than what they said.
Well, I shouldn't have done that.
Well,
he's sleeping on the job. That's why we fired him. Got hurt on the job. That's why they fired him.
Wow.
Now, we say he got hurt on the job. That's why they fired him. They say we fired him because we caught him sleeping on the job.
Oh. Well, maybe this is what you're getting at. I'm seeing two people in my head. I'm seeing two people.
You should, because they're not the same.
Right.
One of them is invented.
Yeah. But here's the deal. I'm associating those two people with two people that I know.
Okay.
One of them is a friend that I know.
Yes.
One of them is my uncle.
And that's exactly what the jury does, because they don't know my client.
Right.
And they're going to fill in the blanks with somebody they know that is consistent with this character trait that you've just put out there. Right?
Right.
So now, which one are you leaning towards? Your uncle or the other one?
Well, one of them is someone that I could totally. When I say I'm associating two people, I'm saying here's the person that matches with the person that would have gotten fired for falling asleep at the job.
Right.
Here's the person who would have gotten fired because they got hurt at the job.
Right.
Right. So
you're clearly clear on them.
Yeah, I'm clear on those two people, and one of them is the one that the defense is describing. One of them is who the other people are describing.
So let's talk about how do we change a person or lead a person or guide a person closer to the truth. It starts in voir dire. And so I'm going to voir dire you and show you what I'm going to do Monday.
Okay, let's see it.
Why should an employer require accurate, honest, and truthful reporting before they terminate an employee?
I mean, so that they can get it right.
Well, but why does that matter?
Well, I mean, that's a person's livelihood, like if you're going to terminate someone, you better be sure.
Well, give me an example of something that would make you be sure.
I mean, having evidence of what happened and not just a secondhand story.
Like what? What kind of evidence?
Well, I mean, like performance reviews. That's a great one.
Okay.
Maybe pay stubs where they checked in and checked like their clock in, clock out.
Okay.
Or safety inspection. I mean,
what about
all
if
those.
What about if you saw an employee? You claim you saw an employee doing something. Would you want a video, a picture?
I would want some evidence of it, not just a secondhand story.
Okay. Why?
To know that person's telling the truth.
Okay. Now fast forward. You're on the jury.
Sweet. I made it.
Here's my opening statement. They're going to get up here and tell you that my client was asleep on the job. They're also going to get up, and they can't help themselves. Even though I'm telling you they're going to do this, and I'm going to show you why they shouldn't do it, they're going to do it anyway because they just can't help themselves. They're going to tell you that he was sleeping on the job, that a co-employee took a picture of it, of him sleeping in his truck on the job, and that he showed it to his supervisor. That's what they're going to tell you. Now, wouldn't you want to know if there was a cell phone picture, it'll show a date and a time? You'd want to know that, right?
Yeah.
Because if he's asleep in his job because he's had a long, hard day and he's already clocked out, it is not a violation to sleep in your truck after work, is it? To make sure that you're safe enough to drive home. But let's set that aside. If you're going to talk about a picture and two witnesses, you'd expect them to come to this trial and tell you that, wouldn't you? But you're not going to see a picture because they, quote, lost the cell phone. You're not even going to have the person who allegedly took this picture come and testify. And you're not going to hear from his supervisor who allegedly saw the picture. None of them are coming to trial. So why in the world would they float that out there?
They got nothing.
Because they're playing on your bias. They're trying this case purely on bias, not on facts. Purely on bias, not on evidence. Purely on bias, not on witnesses. Now, they're going to play you a deposition of a guy who is a felon and has retreated back to the safety of Mexico. And his deposition is going to say that he saw a picture of our client sleeping in his truck. You know what day he's going to testify to? I don't know. You know what time he's going to testify to? I don't know. You know what? Whether or not my client was on the clock or off the clock, I don't know. That's what we're doing here. Now, let me introduce you to my client. My client worked for a swimming pool company that pays $90 flat fee for the workers that spray the gunite. That's the cement that sticks up on the walls of the pool. $90, period, flat fee. Doesn't matter how hot it is, how long they work, how long the project takes. $90, flat fee. That's it. So in order to make a living, these workers have to do 3 pools a day. Because time is short, instead of taking the mixer off and setting it on the ground like it's intended to be, they leave it on the back of the truck or in a trailer so that the worker has to climb up on the truck over the bags of cement, pour the cement in the mixer, and while my client was doing that, he fell and got his hand inside the turning mixer, and the blade got him right here. When they finally got his hand out, through his leather gloves, blood is dripping down. And he begged them, please do not take off my gloves because I think my fingers will come off. Now, you would expect that they would call 911 and get him right to the hospital. But they did not. They told him to go sit in the 103-degree shade of a tree while he waited 45 minutes for the big boss owner to show up, who then interrogated him about the accident for 10 or 15 minutes, drove him to a Care Now facility, not even a hospital, and let him out on the curb. That's what you're going to hear in this trial. You're also going to hear that as a result of that on-the-job work injury, that he filed for workers' comp. And you're going to hear that they fired him after he did that. Now, what made you do that? You were wiping your hands like this is done.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's my first thought.
Yeah.
Who gets their hand in a mixer because they're asleep? That's my first thought.
Nobody.
Explain that.
Yeah.
Just one example. I don't know how that would even happen. So that's why I'm going,
Well, he tripped.
While he was asleep?
No, he tripped while he was trying to get to the mixer. And there's supposed to be a guard on there so you can't get inside it, but they removed it because it takes too long to work around it.
If you probably have to put the guard on when it's on, and you can't flip it over to to dump it. So but now that I gave you some facts, did that help you understanding of the characters who are going to be involved here? Well, yeah.
The snitch is not coming.
No.
The picture's not available. The supervisor testified in a prior deposition, but he's in Mexico and he's not coming either. And the guy that left him sitting under the tree that dropped him off on the curb at the Care Now, he's avoiding a subpoena and will not come to this trial. And as you heard before, as you're going to hear before I read his deposition, you're going to hear why he's not here and all the efforts that we went to and how many sheriff's constables and how many process servers and investigators we had to get this guy served. Last time we were in trial, this is the second go of this trial, but the last time we were here, they told us he was in Hawaii. I don't know where he is now. He won't accept service of the subpoena.
Well, good luck on the trial. It sounds like it's going to be a slam dunk.
No, I don't know. You never know what 12 people are going to do, as we learned today.
That's true. You do never know.
But what I'm interested in for purposes of this podcast is when did you make your mind up?
So for me, my first inkling. So on closing, do you get to go first?
No, I get to go last.
Oh, you go last.
But on opening, we get to go first.
Oh, did I say closing? I meant opening.
Opening, we get to go first.
You go first on opening. Okay, so if that was the first thing that I heard.
But hold on. Let's assume that you didn't hear anything about my client other than he got hired on the job. You didn't hear how it happened.
No. What I would have decided is when you said that, this is what they're going to tell you, even though I'm going to tell you it's a bad idea, here's what they're going to tell you. When you said they're not going to have the picture because they lost the phone,
mm-hmm.
I was pretty much on your side already.
Yeah, anybody could go get that.
Yeah. You don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's different people, different things, but my first thought is, you got evidence like that, keep it.
Yeah.
Or if you don't, and secondly, if you are at a job that's going to use something like that as evidence to fire somebody, you get a copy of it.
Right.
I don't.
So what character are the people who don't get a copy?
Oh, yeah, I see. Those people aren't thorough. Those people cut corners. Those people would lie about somebody sleeping on the job to save money.
Or they would believe an employee's lie that they like.
Right, or that. Or they
over an employee who's now
they
hurt.
wouldn't be. I would not describe them as meticulous, thorough, methodical, or people that verify stuff multiple times before they set it in stone.
Now, I love what you said because that gave me an argument for closing argument, and that is, you know how many times they caught him sleeping on the job before his on-the-job injury?
Oh.
None.
Well, you can pay my retainer fee, and then you can use that argument if you'd like.
Yeah. you know how many times they caught him sleeping on the job after he got hurt? None. You know how many allegations they made before he got hurt? None. You know how many allegations they made after he got hurt? 2. The guy that claims he took the picture and lost his cell phone, and the guy that claims he saw it.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is, if you're going to take somebody's career away from them, their job, the thing that they use to feed their family and sustain themselves, you got to have a true, authentic evidence of it. And all of y'all told me this on Vordaer. And if you think they have it here today, then vote for them. But I hadn't seen a bit of it.
Seems like a pretty strong case to me.
Well, we'll see. The defense counsel's so confident they'll win that they really aren't even talking to us. So, and they told us they're confident. So we'll probably get down there and lose. But,
well,
I don't know. We're going to give it a good go.
You know, if I learned anything from my cousin Vinny, you're going to want their files.
Yeah.
If you can get them, then
but that's the problem. They won't give them to you.
Oh.
They're hiding them. They're hiding the witnesses. They're hiding the files.
Well, Vinny got it.
Yeah, but they existed. I don't believe any files exist.
Oh,
I believe these people are not good record keepers.
Yeah, I mean.
Which goes to your comment on jury. If you're going to fire somebody, you got to keep records of it. You got to have actual evidence of it, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. And I think most people feel that way.
If it was so clear cut, why is there a trial?
Because they just think we're unreasonable.
No. I mean, to me, that's already evidence of like we're at a trial. Obviously, you don't have the proof, or something's missing, or something else is going on here.
Right.
Wink, wink.
Right. Well, I hope you've learned a little bit about character evidence today, because as you listen to the podcast, I bet you saw pictures. I bet you saw images. I bet you saw people that were reminding you of the character traits that I discussed. And I hope you'll see that you start and maybe finish your conclusion before you even hear all the facts. I mean, you haven't heard near all the facts in this case, but yet I bet you have a strong opinion as you sit here right now. And why is that? Because of the way I structured the story and because of character development. So go out there and win those next verdicts. Good verdicts to all. Please join us every Tuesday and Thursday for new podcasts and new materials. And also, we hope you'll support us on Patreon and we will have exclusive materials, lessons, teachings, and even videos coming soon. Good verdicts to all.